Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our BLC first ever Dreamer Seminar. I'm so excited to see you all here tonight, and I have some pretty cool information that I wanted to share with everyone. Um, DACA is very, very personal to me. I started my law firm back in November 2011. And 6 months after that, President Obama announced DACA. And so for me, DACA is something very dear and special because throughout my career as an attorney, it's always been around. So it was very devastating to me when President Trump announced the end of the program that was created back in June of 2012. And again, Bennett Law Center kind of grew up with DACA. So we've served hundreds of DACA kids throughout the years. And by kids, many of you are adults, and I don't mean that you're kids, but you're kind of like my kids. So DACA is very, very special to me. So I want to give you some information about DACA, and I want to help everyone to understand what the Supreme Court's decision means. And I want to talk to you guys about becoming a lawful permanent resident, especially if DACA gets taken away permanently the next time around. So let's start by saying the obvious, which you all already know because many of you are dreamers. I do have some first-time dreamers that will be popping in on this webinar. So I want to make sure that everyone understands really what's going on. So if you have a question, please go ahead and drop it in the chat box, and I will make sure that I answer as many of those questions as possible. There's no dumb questions, so don't feel like you can't ask a question. So make sure if anything comes up, if I'm not clear about something, you ask about it. So who qualifies for DACA? First of all, you have to be under the age of 31 back on June 15, 2012. So anyone that was 30 years old or under will qualify for DACA, even if today they're over 30. So remember, the age starts with when DACA was initiated, which was June 15, 2012. The next thing is that the person would have had to come to the United States before reaching their 16th birthday. So if you have someone who came over when they were 16 years old and 1 day or 2 days, those people do not qualify. You have to be less than 16 years old in order to qualify for DACA when you came to the United States. You have to have continuously resided in the United States since June 5th, 2007. So 5 years prior to the enactment of DACA. So they're really looking for people who have been here for a very long time that arrived when they were young. You also have to be physically present in the United States on June 15th, 2012. So it means that if you came to the United States on June 16th or June 30th of 2012, you're not going to qualify for DACA. So you actually have to have been here on that specific day. And that was the day that DACA was enacted. On that day, you also had to have been without legal status. So people who entered through the border, through the river, through the desert, through the mountains, and even people who entered on visas, but they overstayed their welcome here in the United States, they were also without legal status on that date. So it's not just for people who entered without inspection, it's also for people who entered with inspection or with a visa, but overstayed their time here. Also, DACA has educational requirements, and those requirements are that you have to have graduated high school or have received a certificate of completion, meaning that you didn't take the state of Florida test or you didn't pass, but you otherwise graduated. You have a GED, or you are currently enrolled in school. So I know so many people that I've talked to over the years that they meet all the other criterias, but they're like, well, I dropped out of school, so I won't qualify. That's not true. As long as the person is enrolled in school, they are able to apply for DACA. And we, in our office at the Bennett Law Center, we have helped lots of people enroll, whether it's an English class or signing up to get their GED in order to qualify for DACA, and they've gotten DACA, and they've been able to renew it over the years. Finally, they're looking for people that do not pose a security or public safety threat. So if you have a felony, you won't qualify for DACA. If you have a significant misdemeanor, such as a DUI or domestic violence, those are all going to kick you out of DACA. Also, if you have 3 or more misdemeanors, some of the minor charges, those will also kick you out of DACA. So the qualifications as to who qualifies for DACA has not changed, and based on the Supreme Court's decision, it should revert back to June 15, 2012. All of the provisions that came with it should be resurrected. We know that since the last 3 years, since 2017, only renewals were being processed. So this is a wonderful opportunity for those who missed out the first time to go ahead and apply for DACA now. So as dreamers, I want you to help me to be the voice. You all know that I do my show. I try to be out and provide as much information to the public as I can, but I can't be everywhere. So I want you guys to be the voices to help me spread the word about DACA. It's so important and it's so, so critical. And you all have fortunately been the beneficiary of DACA. So you know how good it feels to have a work permit, to be able to continue college, to have a car, to have a driver license, to maybe even purchasing a house and different things like that. So you guys know what it feels like to have this benefit. So I want you to be out there too, talking to people about it so that other people who don't have it right now can have the opportunity. Now let's talk about the Supreme Court's decision. I'm not going to get too legal or too technical because it doesn't really matter. What I'm going to do is to give you the bottom line. So the bottom line is that the Supreme Court didn't say DACA was right or that DACA was wrong. All they said was that the way the administration terminated the program was arbitrary and capricious. And I would also personally add malicious. So arbitrary and capricious legal standard means that there is a certain way, if you're going to take away a benefit from people, you have to follow the Administrative Procedures Act in order to do so. You can't just get up one day and say, hey, I don't like these people, so I'm going to take away this benefit that they have. You can't do that. You have to go through a process. But this administration did not go through the process. They just wanted to take away DACA and harm over 700,000 people who benefit from DACA. So the Supreme Court basically just said, no, you can't do that. There is a reason why we have the Administrative Procedures Act, and you need to follow that if you're going to take away a significant benefit from a large group of people. So I mean, I was very not hopeful. I didn't think that DACA was going to survive, to tell you the honest truth. I was kind of shocked when the decision came out. Shocked, but definitely pleased to hear that DACA survived. The other thing about it is the Supreme Court's decision actually gave the blueprint on how to lawfully cancel DACA. So basically it was a slap on the wrist. Nope, you can't do that. But let me tell you how you could actually go about doing canceling DACA if you so choose. So the bottom line is that DACA is not out of the woods. So this administration has another, in the name of Jesus, only another 4 or 5 months. and they can try to follow the Administrative Procedures Act and cancel DACA again. So what I want you guys to understand that this is a limited window that we have. And so with some of the things that I'm going to share, the impetus is on you guys to act now. We can't take it for granted because we don't know when this administration is going to jump back on the wagon and try to start this process of canceling DACA again. So we're celebrating the victory that we have through the Supreme Court. It's wonderful, but it's not the end. The fight still continues, and I will always work with my dreamers to find other ways of maybe in the future becoming lawful permanent residents. So don't get comfortable. We're winning right now. The ball is in our court, but that doesn't mean that somebody can't come and steal the ball and knock it out the park. So I want everyone to be cognizant of that. I don't know for sure if this administration will act, but I can say that generally when the Supreme Court issues a decision, it means that their decision needs to be implemented right away. And generally they have, 21 days to implement the court's order. In this case, USCIS, it's been 2 weeks, and USCIS still has not updated their website, has not produced any additional guidance, has said nothing other than the fact that they disagree with the Supreme Court's decision. They said that the Supreme Court made a bad legal decision. Well, unfortunately, I, for one, don't care about your opinion. What matters is what the Supreme Court says, because that's their job. They are the ones that interpret the law. So USCIS has taken a really nasty stance on the implementation of DACA. So they have until July 10th to update their website and to provide all different types of guidance. Are the forms going to be the same? Are they going to be different? They need to have some kind of guidance. So what we've done with our new DACA cases, we're preparing them as normal. And as soon as that day hits, we're planning on sending them out. Just like we did actually way back in 2012. We signed a lot of cases between June and August, and we were able to send out all of our cases right then and there. And so many of our DACA kids received their DACA late 2012, early 2013. So we plan on doing the same thing. But the bottom line of the Supreme Court's decision is that don't get comfortable, guys. This is a limited window of opportunity. The next thing I want to talk about is playing it forward. I want you guys, like I said before, to spread the word. Tell someone. You guys are blessed to be a blessing. So I want you guys to help other people to get some of the benefits that you have. So in the short period of time that I've been working with new DACA cases, I've seen some trends, and I'm going to explain to you what those trends are. Number one, a lot of people have younger siblings that did not qualify for DACA at the time, because one of the requirements to apply for DACA is that you had to be at least 15 years old. So a lot of the younger siblings can now qualify. So just because your sibling didn't have it before doesn't mean they can't get it now. So think about your own circle of who might qualify for DACA. So younger siblings is one that I see coming up a lot. The other category that I've seen several times over the last few weeks is people who were previously denied. So I've encountered people who had worked with notarios or maybe even attorneys, or they tried it on their own, and for some reason their case was denied. They didn't include enough evidence. They didn't have proof being there on June 15th, or immigration requested additional evidence from them, an RFE, and they didn't respond to it. So for whatever reason, the case was denied. Those people are not precluded from trying to apply for DACA again. So you may know someone who was disappointed that they did not have the opportunity, but they do. There is nothing that stops them from reapplying now that the window has been reopened. And just a couple things I want to clarify in terms of the other types of people that have been walking through my door, literally, figuratively, because I am working from home, are people who thought they wouldn't qualify. So a lot of people didn't apply for DACA back then because they didn't think they qualified. And one of the biggest ones that I see is for the educational requirement. They thought that it was a prerequisite that you had to have a high school diploma or a GED. And that's just not true. Like I explained before, people can qualify if they are currently enrolled in a school program, in an educational program. And that can be English, that would prepare them for the GED, or they could just enroll, if they dropped out of high school, they could just enroll in a GED class. And I've told my DACA kids that meet this criteria, I'm not saying quit your job or, go to school full time. Just go, once a week, once every 2 weeks, to try to make sure that you're staying on top of your enrollment, so that when it comes time to renew your DACA, you're able to show that you've actually made some progress in your studies and trying to get your GED. And that's all the requirement is. They just want to know that education is kind of central. The other group of people that I've noticed that believe they wouldn't qualify for DACA is because they've had an arrest. And again, the arrests are pretty simple. It's if you have a felony, you're probably not going to qualify for DACA, right? If you have a felony, you're probably not going to qualify for most other immigration benefits as well. But when we're talking about misdemeanors, driving without a license, little small things like that, even possession of a joint, possession of marijuana, those things will not knock you out of DACA. Even a deportation order will not knock you out of DACA. So all of those things, people are like, well, I know I had a deportation with my parents. We have plenty of kids with DACA that have deportation order or have a driving without a license charge or some other minor offense. Now, even though domestic violence and a DUI are considered misdemeanors, those will knock you out of DACA because those constitute a threat to public safety. So those types of things will knock you out. We've actually had certain situations where people had, fairly serious misdemeanors, and we were able to show that this was a one-time offense, that they made a foolish mistake as a teenager, and they have made reparations in their lives, and they're living their lives now. So there are ways to prepare a case to put your best foot forward. And for those people, they certainly should work with an attorney that can prepare a case to present their situation in the most favorable light. So all I'm saying is, you guys know what it is like to have DACA and how DACA has helped you to progress with your life. So I'm just making a request that you pay it forward and spread the word and tell someone, because you are blessed to be a blessing to someone else. And finally, here is where I want to hang my hat tonight. Let me check if there are any questions. No questions so far? Wow, you guys are pretty quiet. No questions so far. Okay, so let me go back to the chat screen here so I make sure I don't miss anyone. Okay, so here is the big missed opportunity that I really, especially if you already have DACA, I really want you to hear what I'm saying. So one of the things that came with DACA, obviously, is the work authorization. So you get a work permit. The other thing that came with DACA was the ability to travel on advance parole. Advance parole, meaning that they would give you permission to actually leave the country And that permission would allow you to enter the United States with a legal entry. So remember, most of my DACA kids came in and they have no legal entry because they entered through the border. But advanced parole allows you to fix that by giving you the opportunity to enter legally. They give you advance permission to leave and to re-enter. For all of my DACA kids that actually left and traveled on advanced parole, they had no issues whatsoever coming back into the country. So a lot of people were afraid. A lot of people were like, well, what if I leave and I get stuck out there and I can't come back? And, you know, a lot of people missed this opportunity. But I want to explain to you why a legal entry matters so much in your journey to get your green card. Most of the time, there are two ways that you can get a green card. You can adjust your status in the United States if you marry a United States citizen here in the United States without leaving the country. Or if you don't have a legal entry, you can apply for a waiver and then finish your process outside of the country abroad by going to an interview outside the country and then re-entering with your green card. So those are just two ways of getting your green card through marriage to a United States citizen. So where advanced parole comes in is that for someone who's looking at doing a 601A waiver or consular processing, meaning that at the end of all of this, they're going to have to go to their consulate in their home country and then get processed out there and come back to the United States. If you have a legal entry, you can actually do all of that here in the United States. So it is a wonderful opportunity to advance your case because you have a legal entry and you're married to a United States citizen. So some of you might be thinking, well, I'm not married to a United States citizen. Well, by getting advanced parole, you are preparing yourself in the case you do marry a United States citizen in the future. So I have people who traveled on advanced parole and they looking to get their groove on. They're looking for the love of their life so that they can actually eventually get their papers. I also have people that I'm working with that are married to United States citizens, and they are also already in the waiver process, meaning that they've already done their petitions and everything's going well, and they're waiting to get their waiver approved so that they can go, let's say, to Ciudad Juarez in Mexico, where they will do the process and come back. So if you are one of my clients in that specific situation, I would really encourage you to think about advanced parole, because even though you're already in the process of the waiver, it will be better for you to do advanced parole and change your case to adjustment of status here in the United States. Here's the reason why. I was fortunate to be one of about 14 or 15 attorneys to go to Ciudad Juarez in Mexico back in February before all this whole virus thing hits. So I went to Mexico and we got a tour of the facilities in Ciudad Juarez, which are very nice to be very honest. We met with a lot of the consular officials there. We met with the leaders there. They told us about how everything works. Now, when I first started practicing immigration law and doing these waivers, we actually would be able to finish the waiver process and get an interview within 3 months, okay? Right now, we're waiting at least a year and a half after the waiver is granted to get an interview outside of the country. And so when I went to Juarez in Mexico in February, the officials told us the reason is that when Donald Trump came into power, he put a freeze on hiring immigration officers. And because of that, their workforce, they hadn't been able to hire people, and they are down about 40% of their workforce. So what used to take 3 months to get an interview is now literally a year and a half waiting. Where they used to be able to process about 800 cases in one day, they're down to about 400 to 500 cases in one day. So that's why we have such a significant backlog. And with COVID, a lot of our interviews from March all the way through at least August got canceled. So guess what? Those are the people that are going to get scheduled first. So I'm going to say add another 6 months to that year and a half. That's going to be 2 years before you can get an interview, just with this situation. Then you got to add at least another 6 months to a year to account for the further reduction in how many people can come into that facility. So, you know, for our waiver process, you know, getting the petition and NVC stuff, that's usually about a year and a half. And my clients used to spend the other year and a half waiting for their interview. So it's usually about a 3-year process. Right now, I need to consider that this is going to be a 5-year process, meaning that they're going to be spending probably 3 years waiting before they can get an interview. So that's the long way of saying that even if you already started a different kind of case, if advanced parole comes back, you need to think about it, because why wait another 3 years to get your legal entry when you can actually leave the country, come back, and adjust your status within a few months. So that is a huge consideration that I want everyone to know about. Now, one of the things that the administration did when they came in and they stopped DACA, they were like, nope, no more advanced parole based on DACA. So they were very aggressive about taking it away. So I hope they are equally as aggressive in putting it back in place to help the DACA people, because that was one of the original stipulations in having DACA. So I want you guys to think about advanced parole. I know a lot of people have a fear about leaving the country and come back, but come on, guys, go to the Bahamas, go to Mexico. I love going to Mexico. Go somewhere, go for the weekend. You don't have to go for a long time. I actually had one kid that literally flew into Mexico and turned around and flew right back and got his stamp. So you don't even have to leave the airport if you don't want to. That was only one person, but a lot of people wanted to meet their grandparents and things like that. So it might be a good thing. So bottom line, don't miss out this time around. You have to protect your future. So whether you're married now to a United States citizen, you can still prepare for that in the future. But I don't want people missing out on advanced parole. Keep it locked in our Facebook group, and of course on our Facebook page. We will share information as soon as we hear what USCIS has placed on their websites. So it's a great opportunity. We do have one question, and the question is, how do you get advanced parole? This is my first time hearing of it. Is that a separate application? Yes, so it is a separate application. And it's really cool, actually. Certain ways in immigration to get advanced parole, DACA is one of them. So advanced parole allows specifically DACA recipients to travel outside of the country for humanitarian, educational, or professional purposes. So the majority of our DACA kids that traveled had, you know, elderly grandparents or family members that they hadn't seen in a long time, and they wanted to see them or attend a special event or different things like that. So we can't just say, hey, party over here, I want to go to Mexico and hang out for, you know, for the weekend. It's not like that. You have to have a specific purpose in going to, in order to travel. So that's humanitarian. So for family reunification purposes, you have an ill family member, or educational purposes, there is some kind of a class there that you want to take, or professional purposes. So maybe your job is sending you out of the country to do certain things, to attend a webinar, a seminar, or whatever. So it could be a work reason, it could be an education reason, or it could be a family and humanitarian reason. So that's how you apply for advanced parole, and providing, of course, proof of the reason why you want to travel. We applied for tons of them, not as many as I would have liked back then, but the opportunity should be back on July 10th. Again, I'm waiting to see what immigration comes up with. We have another question here. I am married now and have my waiver process going. I'm sorry, I don't know what we DPM. I'm not sure what DPM is. And then the other question is, we don't know exactly when advanced parole will be available yet, right? No, we don't. It should be back up on the website in the next 10 days. I am checking it obsessively every day to see if they have updated information, but it's such a fantastic opportunity. And Alex, that asked that question, you were kind of one of the people I had in mind, because when I think about it, you know, you're already in the waiver process. Yes, I understand that your waiver is pending, but if we're really putting a timeline on this, we're going to be, even when your waiver gets approved in a few months, we're still going to be waiting another 2.5 years, at least 2.5 years, before you're going to Mexico and getting your green card. So imagine if you're going to have to wait 2.5 years before you get an interview date, and they take away DACA, where is that going to leave you? So you were one of the people I immediately thought about, because it's just too long of a wait. So if it does come back, it is something that we should definitely talk about, maybe taking advantage of that, because once you travel, you go for a weekend and come back, we file your adjustment of status, boom, 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 you're here in the United States. And, you know, 6 months later, you have your interview here and you're done. You get your green card. It's really that simple. So even if you're in the middle of your process, it's still something to consider, just because of the amount of time. I was kind of startled when I started putting the timetable together on how long people going out of the country will need it. You know, I have also DACA clients that are just, they don't need a waiver, they're consular processing, but they still also have the same wait. So those people need to think about it as well. Oh, that was a typo. Okay. Yeah, definitely something worth considering. So does anyone have any other questions about DACA, about advanced parole, what it takes to qualify? I will send you all that have registered for the webinar. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Let me remove that one. Okay, there we go. So I will send these slides out so that you guys can all have it available to you to kind of hear what's going on. But I just felt very strongly that it's important to get this information out there, because a lot of people aren't talking about it. And I don't want people to keep missing this opportunity. So the main takeaways that I want you to understand: what does it take to qualify for DACA? Help me spread the word, guys. Let younger siblings know, younger cousins, people who were previously denied, people who for some reason thought they didn't qualify. Well, now you know, and you can tell them, yeah, you may qualify. Why don't you speak with an attorney, preferably Attorney B, at the Bennett Law Center, and give them our contact information. We're happy to talk to them and assess their case to make sure there isn't anything that would preclude them from getting the green card, their DACA. But DACA, this is just a temporary victory. The way that this administration is, I wouldn't be surprised if they started court cases again. So I don't want people to wait. If you need to renew your DACA, go ahead and renew. If you know someone that needs to apply for the first time, pay it forward and tell them, go ahead and do this now. It's kind of urgent. And then if you have DACA and you don't have advanced parole, it's a wonderful option that will help you in your future to be able to get your permanent residence. And as always, the Bennett Law Center, we are here and available to help anyone. We do have consultations. They're not in person anymore for a while, but I do most of my consultations just like this on video, whether it's WhatsApp or on Zoom. And I'm more than happy to talk to people and to give them an honest answer. Yeah, you qualify, or no, you don't. And I hope that we've built a reputation on honesty, that, you know, if I say that I think you can qualify and you can, then you will. But if you won't, I will also tell you that information. But I just wanted to jump on, let everyone know that DACA is super special, so special to me. All of my DACA kids, I love you all. You guys make me proud every day. And I just want to be here to help other people to achieve their dreams as well. So we're all going to pay it forward and get the word out to our community. Let's see. Oh, I just got another question. You are starting for new clients now? Oh yeah, we have taken on probably about at least 12 new DACA cases since the decision. So we're working on the packages. Actually, I had been messaging Alex Monica about Jay. So I think he qualifies. So, you know, that would be such a great option for him. So that's something we should probably talk about as well. But thank you all for tuning in. I will send you all a link to the recording, and feel free to share it with other people that you know that might be interested. And as always, I'm Attorney B with the Bennett Law Center. Our telephone number is 352-557-8989. We would be happy to help as many dreamers as we can. We also have that Facebook group. So if you have questions as information comes available, that's the first place I'm going to share it. So it's a private group. You know, people outside of the group can't see it. They have to be invited. So it's a safe space, it's private. And as soon as I get more information to share about, you know, advanced parole, DACA provisions, how the administration is handling everything, I will certainly put that information out there. So thank you very much. Oh, Alex says, thank you, Attorney B. You're awesome. Thank you for always thinking about your dreamers. No problem. And thank you for mentioning that, because I firmly believe that no one's dreams are illegal. And I hate when people use that word, you're illegal. No, you're not. Human beings are not illegal. You may be undocumented, but you're certainly not illegal. So I kindly correct people when they say that. You're not illegal. You are a human being. You're a beautiful human being, and God has given you a purpose. And if I can play a small part in that purpose, then that is my honor. And that's why I was placed here on this earth. So thanks again for your time, guys. I love my dreamers, and I will see you online. Take care, everyone.